the other one. Hi there. Linda K. Gifford here. I am the founder of Sweet Survivor, host of Those Nasty Women Talk, which is moving very slowly on the screen on TikTok. I don't know what's up there. Hopefully it'll catch up. Today I want to talk to liberals and progressives, specifically about the 12th Amendment, because you're going to blow the election. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose this election, and we're going to have a maniac back in office. Look at the damage he's doing out of office. If he doesn't go to prison, and considering the conservative majority Supreme Court, I find it unlikely that that will happen. Do you want to be left with no defense? Because that's what you're talking about. But on a broader scale, you're going to lose the election because you're going to lose the moderates and you're going to lose the swing vote if you try to limit capacities on guns. I am all for common sense gun legislation. And I said I am a progressive, liberal, human rights activist, but I also carry a firearm where allowed because I have had my home broken into by home invaders, where the only thing that stood off 3 men and me in a nightie without my glasses, dumb, note to self, never, ever, ever don't have your eyewear handy. But yeah, they turned tail and ran because they didn't want to get shot. That's the country we live in, and it works. And when you're citing statistics from some other countries that have very little gun violence and very few gun casualties, note also that many of them have very little freedoms and very little human rights, and that there is an autocrat that is making sure they don't have them. Now, if we get an autocrat back in office, you understand, don't you, what's going to happen potentially? Not going to, but potentially. If there is a 1% chance that all hell is going to break loose and civil war is what we're going to, and we can't love each other and we're never going to unify common laws for all 50 states like I was talking about in the last live stream, I almost think you're crazy not to arm and train. That's how I feel. You know, I train on an AR. I've got rifles, I've got several, I use several kinds of pistols, prefer a Glock, just got a Gen 5 19 that I can use, my friend did. Anyway, the 12th Amendment, yes, was created by the founding fathers, if you want to call it that way. So, we can spin off all kinds of directions and to what things mean. But the argument generally made to disarm the public is, well, it was meant to have a well-armed militia to back the government. True. But if your government itself becomes corrupt, how are you going to defend yourself and your country if you are disarmed by your government before you get the chance? Think about it. Think about it. That's what I'm saying. But beyond thinking about it, I'm telling you straight up, you're going to lose this election for us. You're going to lose this election. None of us are thrilled with Biden. He's having trouble putting his words together. With Nikki Haley's meteoric rise, if they're smart, the GOP is going to put Trump in prison and get Nikki Haley in there. And then she's going to federally ban abortions. They're going to wreak all kinds of havoc. Do not trust the sheep in the wolf's clothes. Just because she's the lesser evil to Trump, she's still a human rights evil for progressives and liberals, and we don't need that. So, the issue we come to, 2 issues, abortion and guns. we've got most of the GOP agreeing with us on abortion. It's just the right-wingers controlling things because of the layout of the Electoral College and the setup of the House and the Senate right now. It's just those fruitcakes that aren't on board with abortions for rape and incest and things, at least not a federal ban like Nikki Haley's going to do. But what they're not, what the GOP will never, ever, ever, and not only them, the moderate and the swing votes for the most part, at least the gun-owning ones like me, are not going to swing. I'm going to vote Democratic. But I'm so disgusted with the stance on guns right now and everyone blaming guns instead of mental health. And the GOP jumps on the mental health, so we're supposed to hate the topic because that's what they're saying. But we know that they're bastardizing it too and making this mental health be the only issue. Well, keeping guns out of the hands of those who shouldn't have them, yeah, that should be a priority. But we all know damn well they're going to have them. And I'm in Kansas City right now. I live in Kansas City more than half the time now. Sweet Survivor is based out of Kansas City. And I just released my CD, previously recorded CD, but just released it online, like about less than a month ago. And it takes almost a month to get to iTunes, which it did. So I was working on this video chronicling the Chiefs' rise, thinking that would be a good accompaniment to the song Prairie Song, which is on A Bed for My Boots, my CD. And so I did not go to the rally. I was all dressed and ready to go to the rally, but my knee is screwed up and I was like, this is a bad idea and I can see it on TV really well. So I was wrapping up my video to put behind Prairie Song with final footage, and we all know what happened. The two drunk people with guns pulled them out, got in a fight, and one of them pulled the gun almost immediately. Just almost immediately pulled a gun, started shooting. Then other people pulled guns. There was multiple gunfire. At least two, I think there might have been 3 or 4. I think there was at least 3. It's all confusing. They figured out who killed Lisa Lopez Galvan, our local DJ, mother of 2. So, you know, all this, instead of wanting to take the guns away, I'm using this as an example, okay? You're not going to stop people who want to carry a gun, who don't have the right to, like these two. They weren't legally allowed to carry a gun, but they did, and they're going to. And you're not going to get them off the streets here. So even if we didn't have to worry about the government, you're not going to get guns off the streets in America. It's not going to happen. So you're going to, do you want to fight that fight? Is that the hill you want to die on and hand it all back over to Trump and crazy right-wingers that are even forcing the moderately sane amongst the GOP to either bail or coerce, admitting openly that they're afraid of what Trump will do to them? That's the real world. My dad used to say, and I'm going to quote him, he used to say, I mean, he was a minister and a peace-loving man and an activist, but he said, the world is not going to lay down their arms just because you do. When it's like, you know, Elf, the scene where he's like, does anyone need a hug? Or someone need a hug? Right? And the raccoon like jumps on and says, ah! That's what you're inviting. We're not going to all sit around and sing Kumbaya together if we lay down our arms. What we are going to need to do is work in increments to keep guns out of the hands of the people we can as much as possible. And you do you, but I wouldn't dream of not having home protection. I wouldn't dream of it. And only recently have I given carry consideration. So, where I'm going with that, back to the top, Chiefs rally shooting. If you do carry a gun, then realize that you're a designated driver. You don't carry a gun when you're going to go out and drink copiously. Yes, I understand carrying a gun to a nightclub. Lots of shootings happen in nightclubs. I even understand carrying it to a rally. But if I were ever, and if you are ever, carrying a gun, then you can't get drunk. At the bare minimum. That's a huge responsibility. I mean, I have 3 sons, and when they got their driver's licenses, I was like, congratulations, you've been given permission to drive a bomb that can kill yourself and other people. That's what you've just been given at 16 years old. Use it wisely. I like to hope for the best, but push the worst case scenario, you know, because you need to know what can happen. And so don't drink and drive, don't drink and shoot, don't drink and boat. Basically, drinking is a fun thing to do all by itself. I even have learned the hard way, don't drink and dance, depending on the level of both. So just wanted to throw that public service message out to you. Don't lose the election for us. Don't do that. Don't lose the goddamn election for us because you hate guns. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. People shoot guns. And bad guys are always going to get them. With 1 million people coming in to downtown Kansas City, you really think you can set up metal detectors and stop 1 million people from gathering? But should the answer be we can't gather? Our children are terrified? No. So common sense needs to prevail. I am going to go on and do the video to Prairie Song. I keep saying that. It's almost finished, like I said. It's really just a matter of what I've decided to do is any money made on the Prairie Song is going to be donated to Lisa Lopez Galvan's family. She's the DJ that lost her life. And by lost, I mean had it stolen, taken from her by punks who don't know that you don't drink and conceal carry. So anyway, this is my CD. It's called A Bed for My Boots. It's backwards because I'm not going to flip it. Jessica Rigney, shout out for doing the artwork. But the Prairie Song on here, and all credits to everybody, is at lindagifford.bandzoogle. No, yeah, lindagifford.bandzoogle.com/home. That's a lot. I had lindagifford.com, and I decided to switch it to lindakgifford.com. So I dropped lindagiffer.com, and within 2 days, an Asian sex ring bought my name. And you know my whole life's work is Sweet Survivor, and that I am a CSA survivor, and that I fight to help save people, both personally from the things they don't know about having C-PTSD and about the level of intimacy that is available out there that us with C-PTSD from childhood sexual assault don't know about, to building Sweet Survivor right now. We inform people and link them up with RAINN if you need help right now. We link to Thorn if you want to report right now. We report to Thorn if you want another level. I run free workshops. I have a book coming out with Bradley Group, who published Chicken Soup for the Soul, Bone Broth Diet, Rich Dad Poor Dad. They're going to be my publicist too. I'm wearing a space bun. Because someone told me it looks stupid, but a 5-year-old girl coming out of Aldi said, "Oh, your hair is so beautiful." And ever since then, I'm like, yeah, I'm going with beautiful. Stupid, beautiful, I'm going with beautiful. I believe life is something you manifest. So anyway, Prairie Song's on here. You can buy it on Spotify or iTunes. I haven't set up the site. It's there, but I need to go put pictures and stuff on it. Very rudimentary at Spotify, by track or album. Other places. It went out all over the place from DistroKid. I don't even know where, but it's out there now. In fact, I'm going to use I've used Broken Ground and Little Girl off of it. Little Girl chronicles being an adult survivor of childhood sexual assault and flipping back and forth into flashbacks and other selves who don't want to be here. Suicidal thoughts in a CSA survivor. It's pretty hardcore, but it's... I was telling someone recently, I've never written a song. I just hear them complete. And I do play the flute, and so I would really appreciate it, once again, if you would check out Prairie Song, A Bed for My Boots, Linda K, K-A-Y, Gifford.com, because Linda Gifford, you can buy Asian Girls, which makes me sick. I'm working on it. But evidently it's not so easy to get a .com back. It's not so easy. And it's not so illegal to advertise girls on a .com. Can you believe that? I get shut down all the time for talking about childhood sexual assault and rape. Get Facebook, penalties, days, several days. I've been shut down for a month at a time. And it's like, I could sell my tits and ass, no problem. I could probably link a shop to it, and just sell pictures of my tits and ass. And that would be okay. But try to give away a free workshop on childhood sexual assault, you get shut down. But you also get called by Joyce M. Short, the founder of the Consent Awareness Network, and I was asked recently, just a few weeks ago, it's been a couple of months now actually, to speak on behalf of the Consent Awareness Network. There needs to be legislation that codifies consent. There needs to be legislation that makes it so that those of us who were groomed and raped for years of our childhood can sue our assailants and call it assault. It's childhood sexual assault, not abuse. When someone rapes you and puts their penis in you, it's assault. And the judges don't do crap. Just 2 weeks ago, I was talking with a judge in a hearing, and I said, these judges just don't understand. And I'm like, oh! I said, I'm sorry, I mean no disrespect. And it was a female judge, and she said, she actually chuckled a little, as much as you can under the severity of the circumstances, and said, no offense taken, because she knows. Judges give sentences like probation to a guy that's been raping his 13-year-old daughter since she was 7, because he's a minister. And he's done so much other good in the community. We don't put people in jail for kidnapping, tying up, raping, and assaulting people. We don't put them in jail for more than like 10, 15 years. Let them back out, do it again. So Sweet Survivor needs you. And I keep begging. I know who my friends are, and I don't understand. Linda, thank you. Linda, I know you tried to start a subscription and it was screwed up, but it's not now. I need my friends to start a $5 subscription, please. You can, it's a self-portal. You literally stop it, start it, change it in an instant yourself. Don't wait for me, an admin, or anybody to do anything. So you can start a $5 subscription to Sweet and help us to rescue people. Help us continue our work with the FBI to get, and Thorn, to get sex traffickers at the source. But on a personal level, the people I work with, most of them haven't been trafficked. I'm a neurolinguistic practitioner who specializes in C-PTSD and relational sexuality, and I only work with people in an intimate partnership that either want to make it better or are deciding whether to stay in it or not. One or the other or both have C-PTSD stemming from childhood sexual assault. That is my specialty. That is what I do. And so on a personal level, I want you to understand that the monsters are next door. And they're in your schools, and they're in your church, and they could grab your daughter and lock her in the basement for 14 years while you search for her. And she's having 7 babies down the block. These are the monsters. And they are all around us. And the reason that you don't hear much about it is because you don't want to. It doesn't even make the news. And the sentencing is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, I'm asking you to start using hashtags FGKIA, freely given, knowledgeable, informed agreement. That is what consent is. And I'm asking you to vote to lift statute of limitations, because I can tell you from personal experience that it took me 18 years even to talk to a counselor and admit what had happened to me and feel that I was the victim and learn that I had issues. It took me it's been over 20 years now of various therapies and research and becoming a neurolinguistic practitioner myself, because it worked. Because reprogramming works, and what they're doing right now is treating C-PTSD like PTSD, and it doesn't work. It doesn't help. So moving on, there were two other things I wanted to talk about today. One of them I'm just going to touch on briefly. I touched on this at length in a previous live stream. You can go back and look at that. I think it's in the title. But rape fantasy. I saw just this past week, that's why I had to include it, because I'm in a funk this week after last week already, and this is another piss me off moment. A well-respected, hugely followed, which is exactly why I'm not going to say her name, sex therapist who speaks mostly to men and supposedly explains women to them, but also speaks to women and tells them what's normal and what's not. She was going on in one of her segments about rape fantasy, and how rape fantasy is perfectly normal and perfectly common, and if you have fantasies of being raped, if that's what you need to get off, that's okay, that there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm here to tell you, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you, or your partner. I'm not saying you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but don't play with that. Don't play with that shit. Don't play with rape fantasy. PTSD, C-PTSD moment. Being violated against your will or before your understanding is horrifying. And the idea that professionals are telling people that rape fantasy is normal. Here, I'm going to interpret for you, okay? I'm going to be Luther here. I'm going to interpret for you. What they're saying is society is so sick that we have disconnected from each other intimately to the point that we have to do crazy-ass things like fantasize that we are with somebody else, that we are somewhere else, that we look like something else. We have to wear something else. We have to pretend that we are being violated. These things, do whatever you want in your bedroom. But if you are uncomfortable with something that is being done, don't let anyone tell you it's normal. Not for them to be pushing it on you, not for you to be wanting it. Don't hate yourself if you want it either. I understand, because I was there when I was very young. My sexual experiences were so young and so confusing, and then I had a mixture of love for my niece and nephew and hatred for my assailant, and it was just a mess. And then later I felt so guilty because I also had rape fantasy, and I worked it out with a therapist and discovered that, the reason for that was, like I've talked about in previous live streams, we're getting nitty-gritty here, but people who have sex willingly the first time, whether it was a good decision or not, it probably wasn't, but at least you had feelings that got you into the thing. Those of us that were sexually assaulted and groomed never developed those feelings, but we do have a body. So we felt physical sensations, and then the physical sensations, what happens is later in life, when you meet someone you really do want to be with, and let's, in a perfect world, say you even should be. They're vetted, they meet all your requirements, you love them, they love you. But when the physical attraction that pulls you there starts, a person with C-PTSD from childhood sexual assault feels guilt and shame. And they might probably, I didn't know that's what I was feeling until I dissected it. But it leads to bad decisions. It leads to shutting down when you really don't want to. And you don't know you're doing it because this is your life experience. And so what I have to do with is on a one-on-one level and in workshops is work with people to understand that there is another level of intimacy. And no, I don't touch you. I'm not that kind of a therapist. Please stop sending me dick pics and porn clips, please. It's traumatizing. I don't do this because it's easy. I do this because it's necessary for change to happen. And I have had many people, and you go on Reddit or Quora, you know, my boyfriend, my husband, blah, blah, wants rape fantasy. My wife or person that has CPTSD wants this to be violated. This stuff is stuff that makes you should call a therapist and not go get on drugs. I mean, it's time to reprocess your memories. It's time to reprocess your memories, and it's time to learn another level of intimacy that only comes in a relationship that is bonded and that you trust. So that's why I only do relational sexuality too, because I firmly believe in bonded relationships. I firmly believe, I mean, once I make a commitment, as long as you're good to me, and I will keep loving you. You know, I've been hit, I've been cheated on, I never walked away lightly. I see now that I picked according to my experience, and I picked people that were emotionally unavailable because I secretly liked it that way. I thought I wanted more. And it's the same, going back to the rape fantasy. See where I'm going with this? Because of your dissociation, there's a line where you remember sensation. And that line, you hit a wall of violation. So here's sensation starting, violation is the cause of it. So now on the other side of it is dissociation. I gotta write that down. A lot of Asians, but it all makes sense, doesn't it? And that dissociation is a veil over the rest of your experiences. And somewhere in the middle is the place where you felt physical, where you felt able, just physical sensations that were sexual. And it's natural and normal then to have rape fantasy. It is not natural and normal to want to have it, and it is not natural and normal for someone to push it on you. So don't let them do that. And you yourself, if that's the thing, I'm sorry I used to say message me, but I'm getting hundreds of messages a day now. And I'm going to put up an appointment calendar. And I'm going to talk to people via an appointment calendar. And I'm not going to, like, charge you $69 or anything, you know. It'll be, like, free consultation and $5. Because I want to help people, and I also have to have the time and the resources to do this. And there's workbooks that need to come out, so please subscribe. That'd be very helpful. I give $5 a month to, like, save animals and whales and wildlife and advocate for legal change. I'm thinking that Sweet Survivor would be a good place for your $5, wouldn't it? Please, please, please. You can go to LindaKayGifford.com. You can go to SweetSurvivor.com or ThoseNastyWomen.com. You guessed it, they all go to the same place. Also, SweetShoppingGroup.com is available there and being revamped right now. And I buy only from women and community artists and entrepreneurs, and I've been continuously open right through a pandemic since 2017. So please support the Sweet Shopping Group. There's about 250 on any given day gifts that are made by people that if you want to talk to them, if you have a translator probably, some of them, saying I know where they are, who they are, women and family and community run operations, many of whom are giving impoverished women an alternative to sex work and rescuing victims. So please support the Sweet Shopping Group at sweetsurvivor.com, at thosenastywomen.com. You get the drift. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about today is Brittany Mahomes. What the hell? Get off her back. That's where I'm at. And okay, I know what she said about Jason. So, let's start with the bad stuff. And then we're going to go to the good stuff. Being an ordinary human with extraordinary capabilities, which we'll get into, and defending her brother-in-law against sexual assault allegations that were later pretty well proven, she made a post that she regrets. I knew that much when I moved to Kansas City a year and a half ago, and I just didn't think much of it. But in light of all the negative attention since Taylor Swift's there and she's hanging around and blah blah, and like, I decided to research what's going on. Well, here's the true story. Male friends here have been like, oh, she's always talking about the games and nobody wants to hear it, her husband's games. And, you know, she got him in high school and they just, you know, he's stuck with her. I'm like, are you kidding me? True story. She played at Texas University or some university in Texas, major university. She was a record-breaking goal setter, goal maker, whatever, in soccer. Went on to play professional soccer for Iceland for a year. Yeah, her and Patrick Mahomes were boyfriend and girlfriend, stayed that way. He became a professional football player. It became in the best interest of the growing family, or family that they wanted to grow to come here. She has a workout video. Her and Patrick half own the Kansas City Women's Soccer Club, and they're investing millions of dollars in the first sports stadium in Kansas City devoted exclusively to women's sports. And she's a hell of a mom, by all accounts. So, I'm just not having a huge problem with this. I would like to have the conversation, if she's willing, about Jason, and not in an attack way, but in a, you know, let's talk about being human way. God knows I put my foot in my mouth all the time. As I said yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, it's kind of an MO. Kind of decided to just run with that thing, and here we are today. Those nasty women talk. So, that's what I wanted to say. I do want to repeat the opening message. And the opening message is, don't lose the next presidential election for us. Don't do it. You're going to lose it if you make the stance. You're never going to take guns away from Americans. You're not going to get them to limit capacities. We can do a few things, you know, we can, this stock, that stock, the silencer, you know, but you're not going to stop it. What you are going to do is lose the moderate and the swing vote, and my God, we need them. So would you just focus on abortion and human rights and stuff? We can argue about guns after the election if you want to, okay? And I'm still going to have my stance that I believe in being armed, at least in this environment. But save it for after the election. I don't want Trump in office. And if he is, I'm sure as hell going to probably need my guns. So I will talk to you tomorrow. See you then. I am going to start taking people on here soon. This is a learning curve for me. I keep saying it's a podcast, and it is on YouTube, but I'm waiting till I have 10 to put it on Spotify. It's all set up, but it's part of the whole deal. And my book coming out. Did you know it takes a whole year to promote a book if you do it right? Yeah, I didn't, but I'm excited, and we're doing that thing now. So, book excerpts are also at lindakagiver.com, sweetsurvivor.com. I would encourage you to read them if you've got the stomach for it. Bye. Stay safe. Don't drink and carry, okay? Don't drink and carry. Concealed carry is a big responsibility.